Hello everyone. Today we are going to cover our next chapter, that is chapter 3, which is decision structures and Boolean logic. So when we are talking about the structure of the program, there are three types of structures. One is control structure, second is the sequence structure, next is decision structure, which is also known as selection structure. So control structures are nothing but the logical design, like basically the logic of the program or logic of the writing part of the program will be deciding which statements should be executed next. Next is the sequence structure. That is what we are going to use in Python. So we do know that all the statements that are executed in the order that they appear. So we follow the top to down approach or top to bottom approach. Next structure is a decision structure. Here, depending upon the condition, the program will decide if it wants to execute the statements below that condition. Otherwise, it will just continue to the rest of the program. So let's say, so the perfect example for decision structure is the if statement. So we'll talk about the if statement, and that will also help when you are trying to understand the decision structure. So in the pictorial, for the pictorial representation of the if statement, we use the diamond or the diamond in the flowchart representation. So this means that only when the condition is executed, we execute or we implement the statements which are under that particular condition. So if it is true, only then the statements under the true block will be executed. Otherwise, it will just move on to the rest of the program. Such type of structures when there is only one option. So there is just, if it is true, you do this. Otherwise, you'll just move on to the rest of the program. So like when there is no other alternative approach, such type of single structures or single path are also called as single alternative decision structures. That is because they only provide one path and they do not provide any alternative paths. So if the condition is not true, it will just exit the structure. And if there are any other statements in your program after the structure, those statements will be executed. So let's take a look at this example. So if it is cold outside, notice this is the diamond box I was talking about in the flowchart representation. So if it is cold outside, if it is true, then wear a coat. If not, it's up to you. So if you want to work out just like that, or if you want to wear anything else, that's totally up to you. But the program is only asking you to wear a coat if it is cold outside. So such type of structures which only have one path are called as single alternative structures. And this is a good example for the decision structure as well. So you are making the decision, like if it is cold outside, if it is true, you are wearing a coat. Otherwise, you can just walk out like that. If you want to create like, another structure, or if you want to have any other statements, then we will be talking about dual alternative structures. That will be in the next video. So when you're talking about the if statement, the syntax is as follows. So you'll have the if, which is the keyword, and the condition, which will give you either true or false, depending upon the state of the program and also depending upon the state of the variables that you have. Next, it is followed by the colon and then all the statements inside the if block. Notice this, there is the indentation. So all the statements which are indented underneath the if statement or if block are considered as a block of statements for this if structure. So if you want to enter any other statements, let's say our condition here has if condition colon 2 statements. And the third statement, if you wanted to have outside the if block, you'll just hit backspace. With that, you're coming out of the if block and your cursor will start at position 0. So there will be no indentation. When I show you the lab example, it will be easier for you to understand as well. So the first line here is called as the if clause, includes the keyword if followed by the condition. So here, generally when we are talking about conditions, we have conditions by using the Boolean expressions, which use relational operators. So relational operators are nothing but which determine a specific relationship between two different operators. So this, for example, here it is A greater than B. So if we are using this as a condition, if A is 5 and let's say B is 3. So if A greater than B, print A. So if you have print A as your block of statement in your if block, if this condition is true and only if that condition is true, you will be printing A. Otherwise, you'll just move on to the rest of the program. So in this case, if it A being 5 and B being 3, as this condition is true, you'll see the output which is 5 because you're printing A. So such type of expressions are called as Boolean expressions. So these are basically used in this case as conditions for our if statements. So there are other relational operators as well. So we have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, equal to equal to. So this is not as same as the assignment operator. This is used, like let's say you are creating a variable and that is the first variable, which is x is equal to 5. And in the next if statement, you are checking if x is still 5. In that case, when you are checking if the left side of the if the operator or if the variable is still the contents of the right side of the assignment operator, then in that case you will be using 2 equal to signs. So if you want to check if x is still equal to 5, then you will be having 2 assignment operators. Next is exclamation not equal, exclamation equal to, which is also called as not equal to. So here, let's take the same example, x is equal to 5, and you are checking if x is not equal to 5, then maybe you are making x value to 5. So if x is not equal to 5, colon, enter, x is equal to 5. So you are making sure that you are assigning the value 5 to your variable x. So here you are checking if the value 5 is still assigned to your variable x. Here you are checking, you are making sure if that value is not equal to, if x value is not equal to 5, if it is not equal to 5, then you are assigning it to 5. So the assigning it to 5 is basically just an example. You can have any other statements if it is not equal to 5. So Boolean expression using relational operators, here are the tables and here is the meaning. So this is x greater than y, is x less than y, is x greater than or equal to y, is x less than or equal to y, is x equal to y. So that means is x equal to y. So you're checking if the contents of x are equal to the contents of y. Next is x not equal to y. So when you are writing the conditions, you are basically asking, that is basically checking if these conditions are true or false. If it is true, then you execute the statements inside the condition or underneath that condition, which is the block. Otherwise, you'll just move on to the rest of the program. So now here is an example. So you are checking if sales is greater than 50,000. If that is true, you are including a bonus of 500. If this is not true, then you're just not assigning the bonus to that person. So here in this example, you only have one statement in your block. But you can have as many statements as you want inside your if block. So any relational operator can be used as a decision block from the table above. So from here, we did understand that we can use any of these relational operators as our conditional statements in our block. So for example, if balance is equal to 0. So you're checking if the balance is 0. If that is 0, then you are following some statements which are under this condition. Next example is if payment not equal to balance. So if the payment is not equal to balance, if and only if this is true, you are executing the statements underneath that block. And you can also have if block inside a function as well. So when we are working with the chapter 5, that is functions, we'll talk about using if and the loops as well inside the functions. Okay, so with that, we are done with single alternative decision structures. Now in the next video, we'll talk about dual alternative decision structures.